Okay, good afternoon, Economic Club members and any guests that are signing on as well. Mike is online, but the video is turned off at the moment. I'm going to run through a few announcements as I usually do at our in-person meetings. This may become apparent, this is the first go at hosting the webinar for our club. If there's a technical issue, I will try to address it as quickly as possible. For those that are missing this, we'll record it and share it. You can share that with any members that you may run into. To the extent I am able to notice or track down any comments that are shared via the Zoom chat feature or possibly the live chat on YouTube, I'll try to relay those to Mike at the end. Otherwise, we'll simply go with his presentation. What you can see here, I believe, is my screen share of our new website. I'd like to thank the website committee and Rentech for getting that launched about a month ago. So I'm going to unshare. You should see me now. Another update, the essay contest, all the essays are in. We received 53 entries. The readers are going through those. And I expect that the June or July meetings, be they virtual or in person, we will line up the essay contest winners and award the scholarships. So that's exciting news. Looking forward to that. Now to introduce our speaker, Mike Carey. I'll read a bit of his bio and then hand off the webinar to him. Mike Carey is a founder and the Chief Strategy Officer of Atlas Space Operations, located here in Traverse City. As such, he shapes Atlas's future through strategy development, business planning, and market engagement. To do so, he draws on his 34 years of experience in satellite and space-related operations as a former United States Air Force Major General. Mike, thank you for your service. It sounds like a very exciting presentation. You can learn more about Mike, who's jumped in, and by visiting his bio on our website or visiting atlasground.com. Mike, I'll hand over the presentation to you. Thank you for your time today.
Well, Chris, thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to share the Atlas story with the Traverse City Economic Club. I'm really sorry that we're not able to meet in person. Like many of you, I've been looking forward to this opportunity, but through the technology of today, we've spent an awful lot of hours on video teleconferences and various means of social media, and I'm happy to report that our company has not been severely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. As you can imagine, satellites are impervious to such things, although the people who make the company hum are not, but we're all well, and I wish the same for you and all of your membership and their families. What I'd like to do is show you a presentation that talks about a small company that started as a virtual enterprise and found its home in Traverse City, and it's having a global impact. So if you'll bear with me just a second, I'll bring up my presentation for you. All right, can you confirm that you can see that?
Mike, this is Chris. I don't see the slides just yet.
Okay. Good thing we did a dry run of this, right?
It worked perfectly 10 minutes ago.
All right. Share. How about now?
Yep. Yep. I can confirm I can see your slides.
Great. Okay. Thanks for your indulgence there. I appreciate it. So space in Traverse City, I have to say that most people a couple years ago would not have ever expected to have um, a global headquarters in Traverse City for a space company. And space, just like every other industry, has a number of verticals. And we, in particular, are in the ground segment that allows spacecraft to call home, just like in ET in the movie, ET had to phone home. Every satellite has to phone home, and Atlas Space Operations provides that capability globally, but headquartered here in Traverse City. We were founded in 2015 as a virtual company, but based in Southern California. And we found our footing and our investors here in Traverse City through the Northern Michigan Angels and Boomerang Catapult were our first serious investors, and they had confidence in our value proposition. And at that time, in Traverse City was myself, and I hired our first local employee was Mikel Acasuso. Met him at TC Newtech, and he is now our lead field engineer, and he's a story in and of himself. But at the time that we brought Mikel on, he was employee number 7, and now we're 28 employees, 16 of which are living here in Traverse City. And 6 of those are engineering or technical professionals that have relocated to Traverse City. And 10 of us are U.S. Service veterans. So we're very proud of that. We have a broad mix of people in background. And so in that diversity, whether gender diversity or historical backgrounds and culture, we've had all types of, I would just say, protected categories of people in our company, and they make up the fabric of our entrepreneurial endeavor, and we love it. It's really key to our success, I think, is the quality and caliber and diversity of the people that we've been able to bring to Traverse City. We have over $15 million in investment that we've brought to bear. Our lead investors now, we just closed on a publicized investment led by Berengia Capital out of Grand Rapids, and Revolution, Rise of the Rest Fund. Steve Case, founder of AOL, has been on 60 Minutes talking about his Rise of the Rest Fund. And really, it's focused on growth in the Midwest and the transition of people and talent leaving the coast because of the ridiculous prices and the challenges that they have, and rising up with strength in the Midwest, I would say. And we were one of the earliest investments. The question I get frequently is, why did you move from California to Michigan? And I said, the appetite and the environment in Michigan was one of real, hunger and enthusiasm to grow, right? To expand the pie. And we were pleasantly surprised when we were asked to locate to Traverse City, because frankly, we expected that the investment would lead us to Southeast Michigan. And the operating costs here, the cost of capital, the cost of people, and then the environment we get to operate in really comes together for a powerful argument for this is a wonderful place for a technical company with good paying jobs that has a really light environmental footprint, so we can keep and take good care of our precious, beautiful resources that we have the opportunity to live and enjoy. But at the same time, bring a capital to the environment that's not so driven by the economics of the automotive industry or the vagaries of some tourism. We see V Capital out of Chicago, Boomerang Catapult, and Northern Michigan Angels here from Traverse City Again, these are the entities that have had a lot of confidence and demonstrated that through investing their resources in our vision. So it seems to me that I've kind of skipped through what the company does, and I'll get to that in a second. Our leadership team, Sean McDaniel, he and I go back quite some time. We met in the Air Force back in 1998, and he's the visionary. He's the founder and CEO. He has a place up on Old Mission Peninsula, and he splits time between California and here. You know myself, 34 years in the United States, 32 years, sorry, in the United States Air Force, and retired as an Air Force general. And all of my time in service was spent in the space industry, satellites, rockets, things that are germane to the business we're in now. And Brad Bodie, our CTO, he's a software savant, I like to say. He and Sean actually conceived of this business about 15 years ago, but the market, frankly, wasn't ready. And it wasn't until SpaceX began their big move to where they are now, where in 2014 we got together and decided to form the company and kicked it off in 2015. Joe Winowicki, local talent, superstar. He's our CFO. What a godsend he is. He has tons of experience, breadth of experience in business, and he certainly is a masterful CFO. Keeps us on track, and it's a pleasure to work with. Kristen Rice, boy, I tell you, when there was an article that said Atlas had come to Traverse City and it was Michigan's first space company. Kristen has been running Constellation Networks now for over 15 years, which is also a space industry, not a competitor, but a very complementary company. And so when she and I met over lunch our first meeting, I went, wow, I got to work with this lady someday. And little did I know that she would become our vice president of operations. And she's a real heavy hitter with connections all around the world, and really a workhorse for the company. Matt Schmidt is as a new add to our team, about 4 months now. And he's our VP for commercial sales, and very savvy, sophisticated, and fun guy to work with, well-versed in software sales, which frankly, Atlas is heavy on software. We talk a lot about the network and our antennas, but it's actually empowered by a unique software offering that I'll touch on here briefly. And then Norm Lee, Vice President of Marketing, comes to us from Haggerty, and part of that, Ford, Land Rover, Jaguar. He's the gentleman of the crew, and we just love working with him so much. And very talented and good strategic marketing. Ed McCarty and I go back. He and I are both from Grosse Pointe back in the 60s, served in the Air Force, and he's the rainmaker for us on government programs. He's just really got a great strategic vision and a wonderful work ethic, and he splits time between Traverse City and Florida. And then Dr. Sean Casey, he's out on the West Coast. He's he's our astrophysicist, but he's very well networked. When you're watching a SpaceX launch, if you're on Bloomberg tracking it, he's typically the voice that Bloomberg calls to talk through all of the different launch activities going on. So this is our VP and C-level leadership team. I assure you that the rest of the folks on the team, from our most juniorest employee, recent graduate from Michigan Tech, all the way up to our chief engineer, who I've known since 1985, just solid workers and bringing value to Atlas. And I would say by one step removed, first order, great value to Traverse City. Atlas Space Operations provides a service to spacecraft owner operators. There's a $7 billion market between Earth observation and Earth sensing spacecraft, Internet of Things, and mobile satellite services. Think of it this way: as Atlas is giving real-time access through the cloud to all of those spacecraft services, we're basically building a highway, or more like a toll road, because everybody has to communicate through some mechanism from the spacecraft down to the value added customer facing product. And so we're basically the service that is existing in Tahiti, Japan, Guam, Ghana, and you'll see our global map. But the whole point is we've taken an industry that came out of the Cold War and is really calcified in antiquated practices and modernized it. And you would think that space people are probably avant-garde, or they're on it, they're thinking Star Wars or Star Trek, but they're not. They're thinking very conservatively, because once a spacecraft goes into orbit, you don't get to touch it anymore. So just like in the olden days, if you had rabbit ears and you get a bad signal and you'd say, hey, son, go hold that antenna. And once you got a good signal, you wouldn't let them let go of it. You just hold that right there. The fight's on or the game's on. Same thing. A satellite goes on orbit, and if it's working, if the ground system's working, you're not allowed to touch it very much until that spacecraft is no longer communicating. And that's 3, 5, sometimes 18 years. So what we've done is we changed both the hardware and the software, and then the operating procedures that allow the speedier conveyance of data. For example, when we started working with NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, they would receive their data 12 minutes after the satellite transmitted it to a ground antenna somewhere in the world. Since we've been on contract with them since 2017, if we don't deliver the data to them within 1 minute, we don't get paid. So from 12 minutes to 1 minute, and last month, with over 1,000 satellite passes, only twice did we not make that timeline. What I'm addressing is the fact that for the last 30 years, there's been virtually no modernization and no development in antenna design or in the processing of data from antennas to data centers or analytics centers. Although in launch, there's been a 60% reduction in the cost of launch due to the likes of SpaceX. And there's also been a significant reduction in the cost of satellite manufacturing, because the barrier to launch has been, the cost of launch has been reduced. When the cost of launching a satellite is so expensive, you have to make sure it's perfect and double, triple redundant. But when the costs of launching it are reduced, you can afford a little bit less insurance, belts and suspenders on how you design your spacecraft. So all of that leads to more rapid launching of spacecraft. And there's a greater than 500% growth of on-orbit satellites in low Earth orbit. Those are roughly 500 to 700 miles, 500 to 700 kilometers above us. But what's creating is a data bottleneck. And so Atlas was created to solve the data bottleneck problem, to get data down faster in a secure way by leveraging cloud-based services. So Freedom is the name of our software platform. It's a cloud-based API and software that allows our customers to digitize the data as soon as it gets down from the satellite to Earth at the antenna, and then transmit it securely, automatically, taking people out of the process in the equation, and allows them ready access to the data at a more efficient rate. And then Lynx is our trademarked electronically steered or phased array antenna that allows, instead of a parabolic dish, which has can only track one satellite at a time, so it has a monogonistic relationship, spacecraft simultaneously. So by definition, one Lynx array is at least twice as valuable as a parabolic dish, and more than likely it's 4 times, because you can track, likely, depending on the specifics of the strength of the radio signal, 4 spacecraft simultaneously coming at different directions and different frequencies. And it allows for before. And so there's no civil engineering. You don't have to trench. You don't have to have like a crane or a lift to move the antenna. Me and another individual could put it together in about 4 or 5 hours. So reduced cost, reduced maintenance, and increased capability for the hardware antenna, and reduced costs and increased speed for the software really makes for a powerful punch. Either one of these is a business case in and of themselves, but frankly, combined is really where you get the secret sauce out of Atlas. I've kind of talked through this in the last couple of slides, but if you just the low Earth imaging, the low Earth orbit spacecraft have to come through a conduit, and that turns into be either a parabolic dish or in the future it'll be our phased array. It goes into the cloud, and that's when we disperse the data out to its users. And they serve all types of industries, everything from aero to IoT, mobility, gas and oil, science, earth science, pattern of life. It's if you can imagine data from moving through Earth, from one point on Earth to another, or collecting from a sensor and then providing to Earth, we move it. So the ground station map that I have here, in blue, you'll see active ground stations that are functioning today. So Sodonkila, Finland, Ghana, Sunyani, Ghana, Miami, Florida, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Mojave, California, Brewster, Washington, Tahiti, Guam, and Chitose, Japan, which is up by Sapporo. And then in the next, I think 60 days, maybe 90 days, Scotland will come online, Alaska will come online. Michigan, we're putting a ground station out at the former Camp Pugsley, now called the GTED Space Technology Innovation Center. And there will also be one in Dubai coming up, Minganoo, Australia, and Araua, New Zealand. Those will be up all before the end of this calendar year. What the geographic dispersion allows you to do is reduce the time as a satellite orbits Earth. It takes about 90 minutes or so to orbit Earth once. And a satellite goes around Earth about 14 times a day. And the more ground stations you have, then the fewer minutes between contact. If you only had one antenna, like at the top of the world, you would see it every hour and a half. If you had one at the top and one at the bottom, then you'd see it obviously every 45 minutes. So because satellites sometimes go from North Pole to South Pole, but sometimes they go from west to east, and they have a sine wave that might be like 55 degrees inclined, or they would fly right over Michigan when they were on their way to that. But they might not see Michigan but 3 times a day. So you have to have a dispersion of ground network in order to get the data down in the timeliness that the customer requires. So Atlas is also really, really proud to be part of our community. You know, we're a global company, and we travel the globe, and we have negotiations globally. But I have to tell you, between the welcome that we got here and the opportunity for us to grow and help grow in our area, we're proud. We're proud citizens. So we began the Michigan Space Forum 2 years ago, and there was the Michigan Space Symposium. And this coming August 31st to September 3rd, we've brought them together to become what's now called the North American Space Symposium, be held at the Grand Traverse Resort. The Michigan Space Forum is embedded in that. We continue to pull on our small satellite customers, our entrepreneurial brethren, and we blend them in with what I would say is a larger aerospace footprint that the NAS, the North American Space Symposium, will be addressing. We had over 400 conference attendees from around the world in Traverse City, and we're going to continue to grow that. They're always amazed that the talent is here, and they're always amazed at the beauty, and they think this is a good place to do business. As far as technology growth in Traverse City, you know, we were an early entrant into 20 Fathoms. We participate and support TC NewTek, found some good talent at TC NewTek, and truly appreciate the camaraderie of the Front Street Irregulars. Those 3 community-based groups are really how we stay connected in a lot of ways. I know we have membership in other forms to include the economic club. And so we're just proud citizens as well. Oh, overshot. I'd like to speak about STEM education real quick. We're involved in the MySTEM network. We sponsor local robotics program, and we also sponsor the nation's only Scouts of America Space Explorers post. So Atlas Space Explorers are teenagers who are interested in exploring careers. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Explorers, you've got the Scouts, which are, you think of traditional Scouts, which are, Eagle Scout, badge earning, think camping, or life skills. Then there's the Venture Scouts, which is more kind of white knuckle, White Rapids kind of experience. The Explorers are career explorers, and there's a lot of explorer groups around the country, but there's only one that's focused on space, and that's our crew. And then we've been at it now for 3 years, and the kids are just really amazing. And so to see young people, 15 years old, 16 years old, 12 years old, up to 18, coding, building satellites, building rockets, thinking bigger thoughts than I could have ever dreamt. And it's exciting to be part of the youth focus on STEM. And we just are proud backers of them. In 2018, Morgan Stanley named Atlas as one of the top 12 industry disruptors, which we are very proud of. And as last year, we were selected as a Michigan top 50 company to watch, and that was awesome. And we were beneficiaries of a lot of help, a lot of coaching. The Ed Lowe Foundation down in Cassopolis turned out to be a really great opportunity for us. We're a silver level veteran friendly employer, one of very few in the state, frankly. And we were also very proud of the fact that we were selected to represent the state of Michigan in Washington, D.C. for America's small business development centers. So that was a competitive representation. So all 50 states, 4 territories were allowed to submit. We were the nominee from the state of Michigan, and only 12 were represented in a showcase to Congress in DC. And we had a great time, and very proud to be able to speak and sing the praises of Michigan's SBDC, as well as our own company, of course. That wraps up my prepared comments. I look forward to any questions that I might have from the audience. And again, I wish I could see you in person, but I wish you good health, and really appreciate the opportunity to be with you today.
Mike, thank you very much. It's interesting to try to understand exactly what Atlas does. That helped a lot after have poked around the website a little bit. Being new at this, I see one chat that just came in. I don't know if you may see it as well, from Rebecca.
Oh, yeah.
What suggestions do you have for how STEM education should be enhanced in this region?
There's, well, first of all, there's so much to do. I think that building awareness is always a challenge, right? With the little bit that we've been involved with so far, getting the word out in a already noisy environment, right? I mean, so if you're the school, any ISD, any school, you've got so many programs, so many challenges. To hear one more good idea is hard. Like you don't want to say no, but how does that compete with robotics? How does that compete with all of the other venues that are going on? So what we found is that let's not try to compete. Let's try to make ourselves attractive by being good at what we do, but we need to get the word out. So what we have for example, in the Atlas Space Explorers in Traverse City, ought to be replicated in Gaylord, ought to be replicated in Alpena, ought to be replicated. We have kids come up from Manistee, and our students, our space explorers are from 5 different schools. And so in their environments, people know what's going on, but we don't advertise a whole lot because, we have a capacity issue. But I think getting the word out and communicating with the solution as opposed to just a demand signal with no answer. So we came with an answer.
What age groups does the Atlas Space Explorers cover?
12 through 18.
All
Well,
right.
I think technically an explorer can go up to older than that, but our oldest explorer is 18.
Gotcha. All right. Another question here, and I had a similar question. What is the growth you expect in the near future?
So Atlas, even in this COVID environment, is still hiring. We're still growing. I indicated the antenna that we're coming online. We don't speculatively build. We only build when there's a customer requirement. So we see ourselves growing at a healthy rate. I'm not going to advertise a percentage, but we see ourselves growing steadily over the next 3 years easily.
And had you noted where the background is?
I did not. So the background I'm sharing today is our Atlas ground station in Tahiti, and Mikel Akasuso, the young man I met at TCU Tech, who was actually born and raised in Mexico, and has an aunt who lives in Traverse City. He was visiting, and we met, and I offered him an unpaid internship. He took it, and a couple months later, I think maybe 6 weeks later, we hired him, and 10 days later, we sent him to Ghana. And quite frankly, he's now been to every ground station we have to install them, and he's our expert on building these things and making them work day to day. So
very cool. I see another question from Ruth. Do you plan to keep your headquarters, is it in Traverse City, HQ?
Yes. Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, we've moved 4 times now. I keep underestimating how much room we need. I guess I'm not good at that part. So the good news is we're growing, and we've had this conversation before. I think people would tend to think, well, an aerospace company, once they get to a certain level, will move to Maryland, or they'll go to Colorado or Austin or California. The Swedish Space Corporation operates their global network out of Pennsylvania, a small town outside of Philadelphia. The Norwegians operate theirs in a good-sized city out north of Oslo. Okay. The satellites don't care. The antennas don't care. If you've got internet, I'm an advocate for gig fiber all over the place, and last 2 months definitely screams for that. But there's no reason for this company to ever have to move from Traverse.
And this is, I think you've touched on this a bit, but has the COVID-19 pandemic, has it changed the way you do business much? Has it had a significant impact? I know it sounds like you're on the up and up.
Well, yeah. So I'm an optimist. I mean, the hard parts are just like everybody else. In February, we held a special meeting to tighten the belt, right? To adjust our plans for the uncertain future. The supply chain, right, is really supply chain and logistics elements of that are really the things that concern us the most, because we rely on an international supply chain to take care of things like this antenna in Tahiti, or the one in Japan. So that's where the issues are. As long as our employees are healthy and their families are well, then we can operate just fine. Mm-hmm. And to this moment, knock on wood, and thank God, there's been no direct impact on any of our employees or their close circles, right?
Yeah.
So that's great. The satellite industry itself, the newer spacecraft companies have slowed down a bit. Some launches had been delayed, and if a satellite doesn't launch, then we don't get paid, right? We need them to be on orbit.
Mhm.
So a few months delayed in some revenue based on delays out of launches out of French Guiana. There was we've got a customer, one in California, one in Colorado, who delayed a couple months, but
Mhm.
there's a launch coming up next month that we've been waiting on for a little while, but it's coming. It's just a little delayed, so we're okay.
It's good to hear. And I see one other. I'll just do a couple more questions, and then
Sure.
thank you for your time. But Ruth, I asked, how many employees do you have in Traverse City here?
So 16 is the number we kind of hang our hat on.
Yep.
There's 3 that are, I'll call, one's definitely seasonal, two are seasonal, and one he comes in more and more and more, and he just told us he's moving here. So
That happened.
there's a magic about not just Traverse City, but being in our office when the team's together. It's really something special. It's good.
Sure, that's cool. Just one question I had. You mentioned you get paid when you meet the 1 minute deliverable.
Yeah.
When you don't miss it much, it sounds like, which is awesome. What's the cause for missing it if that's inappropriate?
Oh, sure. A whole host of things can cause. Yeah. So
is it a cloud going by, or is it?
It could be somebody with a backhoe took up the fiber.
Okay.
Or it could be. I mean, there's other. That's typically the biggest disruption is somebody somewhere didn't call before they dig.
Yeah.
And they broke your comm line. Sometimes, though, for example, like you might have a high-powered amplifier or a fault in the antenna
Mhm.
that just happened to happen the second that you needed it, and we'll get a fault ticket, and the guys will troubleshoot it and bring it back on.
Sure. So, Mike, thank you for your time. If you have any closing words, you're welcome to share them. Otherwise, we all appreciate your taking time to do this and be flexible with the format. So.
Yeah, no. So we're all fortunate to be living in a wonderful place during a really crappy time.
Mhm.
And I know, as my heart goes out to those who are far less fortunate. I can't imagine coping with the pressures of doing our jobs in tougher physical situations. I'm blessed that we're solidly tracked, but I think it's the folks that are members of the economic club, people who care about and concern themselves, I think, on a variety of levels of the economy, right? It's not a simplistic look at our well-being that way. So I appreciate the talent, the time, the intellect that you as a community in the Traverse City Economic Club put towards thinking about our community. And so thanks for asking me in and your other guest speakers. So I've cruised through your advertising and your websites and went, there's some really thoughtful people there. So thanks for including me in your group of thinkers and leaders in this community. And I hope to see you all again soon in person.
Yeah, you're welcome. And we look forward to watching Atlas's continued success. So appreciate the time.
We're looking forward to giving you a good show.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. I'll keep my eyes on this guy there.
Okay, great.
Everywhere else. So Mike, you're welcome to, turn off the video or sign off. I just got a couple announcements and then we'll be on the way. So
thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you as well. Take care. All right, members and guests, thank you for tuning in. I think this went pretty well. Thank you to Mike again for his time and expertise. That was a very interesting presentation. It's pretty tremendous that Atlas is committed to Traverse City and growing from here. I will follow up with additional information about our upcoming meetings. I appreciated the survey feedback uh, regarding the postponed meetings, how to make up those, do alternative plans, etc. So I think the board specifically has been discussing that, and will convey some plans in the near future. We'll see how we can hold the June meeting. May do this again, or may look at some sort of limited in-person. I have no idea yet. So I hope you all have a nice weekend. Hopefully it's sunny. Remember our service members on Memorial Day, and I look forward to seeing you all soon about town. So I'm going to end the webinar now. Have a great day.